Hi, I'm Ben, and today we're going to be interviewing two nurses here in Ontario. The first is, actually, you know what? Let's just get them to introduce themselves. Hi guys, can you explain to me who you are and what you do?
My name is Lawrence Durham. I'm an RN at Victoria Hospital. I work in the medicine department. Whatever else is left over, that's medicine. So every day is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
My name's Christine Bryk. I'm a registered nurse here in Mississauga, and I work in perioperative services in the recovery room.
And we're gearing up for the COVID tsunami. That's what they're expecting.
Cancelled elective surgeries, and we're only doing emergency surgeries. In the past few weeks, we've been moving our whole agenda to accommodate the COVID crisis that's happening and make our recovery room into an overload or surged into ICU, getting all the equipment necessary, the training necessary, the staff, and then recruiting everybody to get ready for what's going to happen or what they anticipate. And that's pretty much it. And a lot of education, a lot of protocol development, and a lot of retraining, because people are going to get deployed into areas that they need to in order to have manpower where it's needed.
Do you think the public is taking this seriously enough?
I think they are now. I mean, it helps that the government of the cities, like London is in a state of emergency, and province of Ontario is in a state of emergency, and basically the whole country shut down. I think that gets people's attention. And I think that they're taking it seriously now. At first, no one wanted to be inconvenienced. But when the government takes the lead and says you have to, and they start putting restrictions, it gets people attention. And then the stores comply, that they have lineups that are spaced apart. They're limiting the number of people who go into the store. You can't even go to the cash register until the person ahead of you has moved ahead. And the cashier says, okay, you can move up next. And they got screens in front of the cashiers at the store I go to. I see all the workers wiping off the carts, the handles, and the surfaces. Whole businesses are closed down that aren't essential. So yes, I think people are taking it seriously, and they have to adapt because it's a whole education thing. They don't know what this physical or social distancing is, and they got to learn that concept, and about hand hygiene and what's a virus. And some people have been non-compliant, but I think most everybody realizes we're all in it together.
Do you think it's too late? Or do you think the curve will have been flattened enough? Or are you guys worried that you're just going to have, how you put it, the tsunami of COVID patients come in?
Well, I can't speak for the statistics or the data, but we are trying to respond versus trying to react. And we're trying to learn from people who didn't have a time, which they were in it before they knew what they were in. I think it's a really understanding of what human behavior will do when people are afraid, and anticipating that and trying to not react to that. I mean, react to it, but get ahead of human behavior, because China didn't have time, but then they responded. But, they had a certain amount of obvious panic and fatalities and everything like that. And then the world watched that. But it was so far away and it didn't really affect us. And then it started to move. And then when Italy got slammed, everybody's, oh my God, this is horrible. And this is, they're not set up. How could they have let that happen? And then it was sort of like, it can happen to us. And reality started to sink in when especially it was March break. I think March break really was almost a blessing, because it showed us that many people were going to be coming globally, returning home and bringing it with them. Had March break not happened, maybe it wouldn't have been an obvious return of people. And so we started watching what people were doing when they were away. And the world became very small and real, I think. And the government has been taking a very serious stance on it. So it may not flatten the curve necessarily, but I think it can hopefully slow the entry point so that we're not surprised. Putting protocols in place, training people, having the grocery store. You go in the grocery store now, like Lawrence mentioned, but it's almost like living in a Margaret Atwood, George Orwell time zone, because I went into the grocery store the other day, and overhead they had, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to behave. This is, we want you to respect our workers who are also trying to stay safe. Social distancing is this: come to the grocery store when peak times are off, or if you feel like you're in an aisle with 6 people, move out of the way. Like, it's like a subliminal kind of tone now that's become almost the norm. And when I don't see it happening now, I think I can behave differently. So I can behave the way they're asking me to behave, because now it's not just something I see at home on the TV. It's at the grocery store.
It's real. It's right there on the PA, them saying 6 feet apart and this and that. Yeah.
And then you have on the ground, they have red tape where you can put your cart. So I think if you don't take it seriously, unfortunately, you're still going to be able to access healthcare as a victim. And you can read the WHO website and you can read the CDC website and get stats. Not knowing anything means you're living with your head in the sand, and you're still going to be able to access care, which we don't know who those people who stupidity doesn't have a sign. It just comes down to understanding human behavior. There's going to be a certain amount of people who just don't take it seriously, and they're going to benefit from a ventilator. That's the way it always has. It's just magnified it. I don't know why Tim Hortons is still open, to be honest.
It's an essential service, Christine. People need their coffee. They can't do that at home.
Make it at home.
I know. I think it is ridiculous. There are all the essential services have been closed down. That's great. But I think people are still just not taking it seriously. I think people are more people are taking it seriously now. But I'm with you on this side of stupid people. Oh.
You can't fix stupid.
I know, but they're affecting the whole system. So it's just so annoying, because there will be those stupid people.
They always have. It's just now. So the flu pandemic, we're not seeing high cases of influenza right now. Influenza A, influenza B, thank God, because they would be in our emerge as well. MRSA is there all the time. CPE is there all the time. We just don't talk about it, but it's there. And we are gloved and gowned and treat all those things as well. This is just 20 times more virulent. So it's getting a lot of news. And this is a public health crisis. This isn't a hospital crisis. This is a public health crisis, because it's public behavior that's going to deem where the bug goes.
Everyone's at home now, and it's self-isolation central everywhere in North America. When people are still hanging out with their friends, or when parties are still being hosted. 2 weeks ago, there were still people at nightclubs dancing. And now that's not the case, because those have been shut down. But what about kids at parks and teens inviting friends over, etc.?
I don't think they should, because their frontal lobes aren't developed. And what I mean by that is they don't understand timelines of their behavior affecting their lives versus anybody else. So they just don't have that extra development to understand the effects of their behavior beyond their immediate gratification. You have to understand too, like, the population that we're dealing with that is young is used to immediate gratification, who gets upset if the internet's not fast enough. They get angry over that. So 2 weeks into isolation, they're going to get bored, and this is stupid. I'm not sick. I'm going out. Right? They lose track of the bigger picture. And then the granny who's sitting there, who's doing nothing in a rocking chair in a corner with a blanket on, she gets sick because of someone's choices, but she gets pulled off the ventilator first because she's old, because someone younger who can contribute to society made a stupid choice, but now they're on a ventilator too. So who gets the ventilator? Right?
Huh. You just wow. That was a very good, that was a good story. That's probably going to happen if it hasn't already happened.
I don't think, obviously, people should socialize in parks. You can go outside and practice social distancing and all that kind of stuff for certain. But if you look at the CDC website, it hasn't been recorded in anybody under 10 years old. It's flu-like symptoms. It's mild. It's things like that. And it's hitting males twice as fast as it hits females, 4.8 versus 2.5 or something like that. The other thing is, I really think it's insane to not think you can socialize with all the technology that we have. What have we actually reduced ourselves to? It's ridiculous to think that you can't sit at home and do what we're doing and watch Netflix, learn how to make bread from a cookbook that you just whipped up on your computer because you didn't have to go out and buy one because you didn't have one. You know what I mean? Like, we have so many things at our fingertips. If you can't social distance and self-isolate under these circumstances, then that's ridiculous. What else would it help you other than someone standing at your door with a gun?
It's true. We have the internet at our disposal. It's not that insane to stay in for a month a lot of people, you and I were talking, and we already kind of did social isolating ourselves because we had our routines. Yours included the gym, which is shut down. But aside from that, your routine, you were saying, hasn't changed at all. Mine has slightly. I mean, I go to the grocery store more often normally. Now I go and I make fewer runs, and I still kind of go biking outside. But other than that, I guess not much has changed except for excessive washing of hands. But yeah. How old are you specifically?
54.
54. So you're approaching that 60-ish range that is dangerous. Statistically, people over 60 are more likely to die, and you're on the front lines. So what are your thoughts there?
So they're more likely to die, but they also usually have other comorbidities. I've got healthy lungs. I don't have hypertension. I don't have cardiovascular disease or diabetes. So there are percentages. I think it's 40% if you've got cardiovascular disease, 20 some odd percent if you've got hypertension. Like if you've got those other things, then I think regardless of age, you're at risk.
Got it. And just because when you are older, you're more likely to have those, that is why it's skewed that way. Okay, that makes sense.
So you're kind of, think of it this way. I might not be not necessarily not playing with a full deck, but if I enter the hospital with comorbidities, I'm already entering in with less of a deck. So that's less the healthcare workers have to work with. If you enter in with crappy lungs, and this is a disease that affects the lungs, you're probably not going to have much of a shot. Your kidneys could be great, but your kidneys will shut down if your lungs start to have a problem. But I think the best thing for me going into it is education and understanding the protocols. Because if the protocol is not to run in as soon as someone has a cardiac arrest, then I'm not running in. And I'm going to be backed by that, by all of my colleagues, because I can pull up the protocol and say, I was not supposed to run in and expose myself, and I went and did that.
So you're doing everything you can. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I really don't know how danger pay gets put into all of this kind of stuff. Like if we should be compensated, because that would be a ton of money. But you can work from home, and a bunch of other people a dentist can't work from home, but other people can work from home. And then people who can't work from home or have to go get groceries have to act responsibly. And then I have to act responsibly at the grocery store as well as I do at work. Like I have a professional responsibility at work, and then I have a population human behavior responsibility to act that way outside of my house and all that kind of stuff. It just happens to be that my work is where the shit's going down, right? So I would just like everybody to understand that we're human and we all have families, and we don't get to choose our workplace because we chose our workplace already. It's just that the bug is now there, and that's where a lot of crap is happening. And I would just really want people to understand like their behavior is going to make my workplace horrible or not. And so collectively, if people behave collectively to the greater good, then I'm not afraid to work hard, but I also want to be safe with the parameters that I've been given to be safe. The amount of stuff coming into the hospital can really be in people's control. They just have to see down the line, because that's where my workplace is. Their workplace might be at home, and they're nicely ensconced at home, and they're doing everything great. And when they go get groceries, they're relying on everybody else doing everything great. So we're all relying on each other. We're all so connected more than we ever really realize. It's just that I don't really get to choose my workplace. So I would just hope everybody else chooses a bigger behavior maybe than they want to do for the short term of their lifespan, maybe 2 or 3 months, so that I can keep doing my job and paying my bills and doing stuff like that too, and keeping my family and my health safe.
And helping more people over the years, not just not being able to. Yeah. Okay. All right. That was good. That was fun. I know there was a few technical difficulties. Okay, a lot actually. But thank you for your time. That was fun, and you had a bunch of really good insights. All right, there we have it. That's the end. Unfortunately, my dad got cut off a few minutes into this, if you didn't notice. And the screen recorder cut out at one point, so we actually lost some really, really good stuff that I wish we had. The good news is that I learned a bunch by doing this video. Even with all of the technical problems, I now know how to do it properly. So coming up, I'm going to do a separate recording with a one-on-one chat with my dad instead, and it'll come out this week or next week. Now, if you've already subscribed and hit the bell notification icon, when I do push that video out to you, you'll be notified. So that's incentive to go hit that. Also, if you've made it this far into the video and you haven't already liked the video, please go ahead and do that. And Again, if you've made it this far, you probably enjoyed it, and other people in your network would probably love this type of video as well. So please go ahead and share this video. Help spread the knowledge of COVID-19, especially health workers who are on the front line and actually know stuff. I mean, I don't know that much stuff, but I'll be interviewing more people who know stuff and who are actually on the front lines. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you would like me to do for videos coming up with COVID-19. That's all I have for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!